For 1 and 2, we need to find the x and y intercept of the line. There are a couple of different ways of doing this, and I'm going to go over the way that I think is the easiest. However, there's other ways, so if you have another way that works for you, feel free to use that. Now the x and y intercept, we have currently an equation written in standard form. This means 2, 3, and negative 18 are all going to be whole numbers, which they are, and none of them are our slope or our intercepts at all. They're just numbers that are not fractions. So what this means is we have to actually find x and y intercept by doing something that's not just as easy as saying, well, x is with 2 and y is with 3, so there's my x and y intercept. Okay, it's not going to be that simple. What we have to do here is think about on a coordinate grid. Alright, so we have an xy plane here. Any point that is on my x-axis, so here's a bunch of points on my x-axis, okay? Wherever my line hits this x-axis, this point would be the x-intercept. Wherever it hits the x-axis is the x-intercept. Now, something else we need to think about is the fact that these coordinate points, if you think of the coordinate points of all of these, okay, if you pick any of these, the coordinate point is going to be a number, comma, 0, right? Because if you think about it, if we're at 0, 0, we have to go to the right a certain amount, like 4 or 5 or 6, and then up and down, 0. We can't go up or down at all because we have to stay on the x-axis. Same thing if we go to the left. It might go -2 or -4, and then we have to go up or down 0. Now, what's important here is that all of these points have a y coordinate of 0. And here's why that's important. Because on a standard form equation, or really any line equation, x and y are just input-outputs. So I don't know what my input is, but I know that my output is going to be 0 because all of these points have an output of 0. Here's why that is helpful. If you think about plugging in a point into this line equation or this function, we can actually plug in a 0 for y. And then we can say, well, if my output is going to be 0, that's a 0, what is my input going to be? Well, 3 times 0 is just 0, so that cancels out, and we have 2x equals -18. If we divide both sides by 2, we get x equals -9, right? -9 times 2 is -18. That seems to work. Now, in the same way, this is by the way, this is our x-intercept right here, -9. Okay. If we look up at our answers, there's only one that has -9 as a possible answer. So that one right there. So I'm already thinking this is probably going to be my answer. But let's check to see if our y-intercept is actually -6. So again, here's my input, output, yx. If I pick any point on this y-axis, it's one of these points is going to be my y-intercept. And all of these points are going to have the same input, the same x-coordinate of 0. Okay, no matter where you go, you can't go right or left. You have to stay on the y-axis. So whatever this number is here, the x is going to be 0. So in the same way we just did, we can say that x is going to be 0. That's a 0, I swear. Alright, and then everything else is going to stay the same. So if my input is 0, what is my output? That's kind of the question we're asking here. Well, 2 times 0 is 0. So we just have 3y equals -18. And if we divide both sides by 3, we get -6, which checks out. So x is -9 and y-intercept is -6. Here's my y-intercept. Here's my x-intercept. When we talked about this in class, a lot of us did something like this. We had a table, inputs, outputs. We plugged in a 0 for x and a 0 in for y, and we found what our y-intercept would be. These basically give you the 2 coordinate points that are important. So answer for number 1 is D. Alright, if you want to kind of rewatch this video and look through this example again, that's fine. Otherwise, I would suggest you pause it, try number 2, and then replay this or continue to play this video, and I'll show you the answer here in a second. Okay, so this is your chance to pause it, try number 2, and then come back. Alright, your chance to pause is over. I'm going to be erasing this so I have some area to work down here. Alright, so in the same way, if I want to find my x-intercept, I have to think about what my input would be, or my x, when I have a 0 as my output. Alright, so there it is. If I solve this equation, 8 times 0 is 0. I just have -2x equals 24. If I divide both sides by -2, I get 12, because 24 divided by 2 is 12. And since there's a negative involved, it's going to be -12. Alright, in the same way, if I want to find my y-intercept, I can plug a 0 in for my x value. It would give me negative 2 times 0 plus 8y equals 24. And also, if you're doing the table method, this kind of just to keep you organized, if you plugged a 0 in for y, we got a negative 12. If we plug a 0 in for x, we're going to find out what we get for y. So negative 2 times 0 is 8y, which equals 24. If you divide both sides by 8, we get y equals 3, positive 3. So looks like D would be a great choice because x-intercept is negative 12 and y-intercept is 3. Alright. If you have any questions about this, please come and ask your neighbor or ask Mr. Otten up at the front of the room, but please get help before the test tomorrow, okay?